Oh, okay, that works. Muting the microphone now, folks. Hi, Paulina. Something. Yeah, but I need you to talk as well, just to see how it sounds when you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right.
Let me know if you need me to keep talking.
No, you're okay.
Should I mute again?
Yeah, you're fine now. Yep. It sounded good through the.
Okay.
I wanted to hear how it sounded like through the YouTube link.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. I'll mute.
There. Geez, light audience today. Weather scare everybody away?
Yeah, wow, it was.
Yeah. That's okay. We'll do it for posterity's sake. We'll give it a few more minutes just to see.
They're probably, you're streaming it, right? So
Hmm?
they're probably watching it online.
Yeah. No. No.
No?
No. Right now it's showing me no viewers, even though I'm a viewer in here. So I'm not sure how much I trust or believe.
If I want to learn more about posts as opposed to pages, should I come to a training or simply?
I would just pop into an open lab. Yeah. Training's not going to give you anything that you don't already know on how to use the theme itself. The training's more meant for like getting you into the door,
Yeah.
but then for like further stuff, the open labs are where you would want to come to tinker around with some of that stuff. Oh, hi. Thanks, Michael.
Do you know what the meeting is? There's a big meeting there. Do you know what they're talking about?
Nope.
The meeting,
There's a.
I'm part of it, so this worked out really well.
Oh, really? What is it for?
It's teaching and learning, there's like 600 people.
Okay.
So strategies and
Sure.
online courses and writing assignments. And It's a
Wow.
lot of faculty and TAs.
Wow. Impressive.
So this is the lunch hour, it's perfect for me. Got lunch.
Pop over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will. We'll kick into gear here with this, just for the sake of getting through it and getting everybody back to wherever they need to be at the moment. So for those of you tuning in and for those of you here, welcome. This is the May brown bag for the WiscWeb service. We skipped last month because we didn't have much to add to what we had, and the team was busy with a lot of various things with updates and things of that nature. So a quick rundown, I sent this out, but general agenda, I just want to touch on upcoming training and open lab schedules just because it's going to be a little weird for a couple of weeks there. We'll talk a little bit about the theme 1.4.1 release and things coming forward from that, the WordPress core update and things coming forward from that. And then another thing that I want to touch on is the email list and the review requests that I have there. And then we'll close up shop with a little bit of QA time as well. So just to touch base on the open lab and training schedules coming up. Next week, starting the 23rd, I'm going to be out of the office, and I'm going to be out of the office throughout the rest of May and then returning on June 3rd. So as such, we're going to bump all the open labs and there won't be any trainings during that time. I'm the main proprietor of the open labs, and the devs are nice enough to come down and be an assistant for us, and Jenna's always around as well. But with the way that things are going right now, with working through a lot of the various tasks that the developers have going on, and a lot of things that the team has going on in general, we just opted to say, let's just bump the open labs, make that for work time for the team, and then we'll still have the email list and the general ways that you can contact us available. And then starting back June 3rd, I have the open lab schedule back up to date, and I have the trainings also scheduled up to date through July. So those things are out there. One thing that I did want to introduce, I'm not sure how many people may have seen this before, but if you go to the training page, I have added this additional resources section underneath the right side here. And what this is it's, at the moment, the collection of the collaborative brown bags that we have done with the Center for Digital Accessibility and User Experience, and then also the training that Jonathan Dietering did for further Google Analytics. But I'm trying to think of a good way to collect all of these in one place so that they're easily accessible. And I'm trying to set it up in the order in which we have delivered them as well. So that's why the goal setting, the heart framework stuff is there at the beginning. And then it goes on down the line to the analytics, the accessibility information, and then the user research is there as well. So I created this just as, like I said, a central place of gathering all that information because a lot of people are still emailing asking about this kind of information, and during trainings when I am delivering the usual accessibility spiel that I deliver and the analytics spiel that I deliver, it's nice now that I have one spot that I can send people to get this information after the fact. So it's out there. It will continue to develop and grow, so we will build this out as we can. I have further thoughts that I'm going to start to do with more training resources. It's something that I'm kicking around with the team, with April, and with the center. So we're going to sort of hopefully build this out further to do, like, one of the big questions that we're getting is a best practices question. Like, I want to do 2-column this. Well, here are some things to think about when you are building out 2 columns. We added some things to, again, nice to have some things, but also we want to make sure that we provide people with information about what to think about as you are building out this, your new site. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that as well. And that kind of goes into the next one there, which is more future collaborations and offerings are in the planning. For those of you who attended the accessibility session that Sandy Arundokowski provided, she and I have continued to have conversations about more types of accessibility training that she wants to offer, specifically how to create accessible PowerPoints, and then how to create accessible Word, and then Word to PDF documents as well. So she's eager to get those going. Scheduling is just the problem right now between her and I getting things all squared away. There are also conversations about providing targeted open labs for just accessibility. But again, this is a conversation that she and I are having, because when it comes to that and it comes more to like consulting at that point, it can't just be a drop-in thing, because if I have 10 people there waiting to talk to Sandy, it's going to be a waste of all of yours time when the 2 hours or however long it is runs out and Sandy hasn't been able to get to you. So she and I are talking about some scheduling options that we have out there. I've got a few things that I'm poking around with for that purpose. So we will communicate that out once we have those things squared away. So next up is the theme release. So we did release UW theme 1.4.1. We put it in the information when we sent it out where you can view the changelog. There's a lot of things that exist within the changelog that are really developer specific. It's a lot of things that they chat about when they are releasing things. A lot of it is development side updates to the theme to make things easier on their end as they are updating sites and things of that nature. But the changelog will always be at the wordpress.wisc.edu URL. It's a long GitHub link, so I didn't want to try and put it in here. But you can always access it at the main WordPress site here on campus. You can also download the theme there as well. Just a couple of things that I wanted to point out in regards to the theme being released. The first is we have changed the section for Google Analytics and added in this Google Services section over here on the left. So this Google Services functionality, it replaces the Google Analytics area. So you still have the search options and the ability to add your Google Custom Search Engine ID in there. But what the Google Services does is it gathers the Analytics and Tag Manager functionality. And then the third thing that it does, and this is new to the theme, is it allows you to go out to the Google Search Console service site and create a verification ID. That verification ID can in turn be used as a means of telling Google that you want it to take another look at your site because you have made changes over the last 6 months, year, whatever it might be. It's one of those ways that you can force Google to recrawl, reindex your site. This is one of those steps. So there is a knowledge base document out there for it. It walks you through the process of how to set it up, how to apply it to the services area, and then how to go back to the Google Search Console and verify that you have set it up. So this is one of the steps of getting your site to be re-indexed or re-crawled by Google. We are currently working on some other ways to do that. We're looking at some plugin options for creating sitemaps. That's one of the things that we're testing out right now. We know that that question has come up quite a bit in the past, and we want to make sure that we are trying to address that moving forward. So that's that one. Any questions on that functionality? It's mostly straightforward. It's a mostly straightforward process. So I need to make sure that I'm paying attention to the chat if any questions come in there. It's a mostly straightforward process, but really it's just a fact of, we know this has been something that's been desired in the past. We have never had a good way of allowing our users to be able to force Google to reindex or recrawl your site. This is one of those things where we want to make sure that you have that ability so that you don't have to work through the developers and potentially work with any customizations to your theme to just get some code automatically populating into the header of your site. All right, that was the Google Services update. Oops. The next thing that it has added is a default privacy statement in the footer of your site, of your theme. So essentially what it does is it creates that link down there at the bottom that automatically links to the UW-Madison privacy statement page. This is something that has been a back and forth conversation between marketing, between legal, and us working with marketing, trying to answer the question of the whole GDRP things that have been going on as well in regards to forms and data collection and things of that nature. So this is one of the steps in that direction to become compliant with the various levels of GDPR and what we can provide via the theme. So it is there. It links out to the what is GDPR? You don't remember that conversation? I don't remember everything about it either. So essentially,
It's a brand new topic.
yeah, Jenna's on the line too, and she might have a little bit of better information if she wants to pop in. But essentially, it's European policies for
gotcha.
data collection.
Yeah.
I'll keep going anyway because I'm already starting. You're not slowing me down. It's essentially there has to be a verification or a sign off on the fact that your data is being collected and could be used. And the policy is you have the option to opt out of that sort of data collection. And because this is now a policy that is becoming more world concerning, we want to make sure that we are working with legal to provide our sites with the right way of creating that function. And essentially, our forms are eventually going to have some sort of functionality added to them that will say, I am allowing my information to be collected, or I want to opt out of my information. We don't know how that's going to look. That's part of the conversation that marketing and legal is having. There's a large group of people who are involved in this conversation, and eventually the developers will also be involved because we have to work with them to deliver the end result to the theme and to, I mean, specifically like gravity forms.
Okay.
Really.
Thanks.
So, yep. It's good. I need to
Matt,
keep
you covered that all, but I also put a link to GDPR in the comments for anyone who's on there.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. WordPress core updated. Nothing too significant to this on your end of things. You guys actually won't see the stuff that's happening with WordPress core because of the fact that we have added the plugin that is the Gutenberg ramp plugin. So WordPress is moving towards a more visual editor for the editing interface. But because of the way that we have the theme set up and the various page elements that we use and the advanced custom fields, the ACF that we use, that stuff is not all fully tested with the Gutenberg editor. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to update WordPress core, but the plugin itself, it removes that Gutenberg visual editor from your view so that we can keep using the theme in the way that it was meant to be used. But this is all part of us moving towards using the Gutenberg editor, and in reality, just to bounce back to the theme update, at some point this summer, we are going to turn heavily towards Theme 2.0, UW Theme 2.0. We don't have a definitive date yet on when the break begins, when we stop doing 1.x and we start moving towards 2. Again, we work with marketing on that, and we work with the marketing developers and our developers to sort of keep moving that conversation and that process forward. So there's no definitive date on that yet, but part of that conversation is going to be, what do we do with the Gutenberg editor in relation to the theme, the advanced custom fields, and things of that nature? And then specifically the plugins that we currently use, how are they going to interact as we continue to update core? That being said, our vendor plugins, we have updated those to recent versions as well. Gravity Forms and Events Calendar more pointedly. I have had one question in about Events Calendar that I need to take a look at, but for the most part, we haven't seen any significant issues in regards to our push out of the vendor plugins and 5.1.1. I can't think of anything else to add about it.
Matt, can I jump in really quick?
Yep.
Okay, so there were a couple folks who were having some update issues with Gravity Forms. Those were mostly related to caching, it looks like. If you see anything on your sites and related to forms, so maybe like conditional logic isn't working or the form isn't sending, please let us know. We'll just clear the cache on that, and that should fix the issue for you.
Yeah, so it'll involve some of our work to actually purge that functionality. The events calendar issue that I saw shouldn't affect anyone. It has to do with an add-on to events calendar that some folks have used, and so it's just more if I need to test out what might be happening there. Any questions on that stuff? Anything from the cheap seats? The dry seats, I should say.
What are Gravity Forms?
So Gravity Forms that is our plugin that we use for our form submissions. So for example, I don't know that you use any of these on your site, but it's this functionality right here. It's to build a web form. So we use the plugin Gravity Forms to create these types of web forms.
And then the information that is submitted there, where does it go?
So that's up to you where it goes. That's actually a good question because that'll lead me into another thought that I wanted to say at last month's Brown Bag, but we didn't. So to answer the question, you determine where it goes because you define what the mail to address is when it comes to your notifications. And you could have multiple notifications set up. So you could have it sent to you, to me, to anyone else on campus. You can add additional notifications. They also get saved internally via the database to your plugin. So all of your entries get sent to you and also get saved internally so that you can come back and take a look at them after the fact. That question, though, leads me into one of the things that we did notice quite a bit at the start of the spring semester. And given that we just hit summertime, and I know lots of forms get submitted over the summer, and lots of people remember to go look at their forms and why aren't they receiving submissions. So I just want to make sure that I re-ping you all on, whoops, that's the workflow functionality. I remind you all that your from email for your forms must have no reply at email.wiscweb.wisc.edu as the email address in there, and this has to do with DMARC stuff. So it has to have that email address in there for it to be able to send through our mail system and AWS so that it can actually deliver any form entries to you. Like I said, once the spring semester hit, those first couple of weeks of the spring semester, we received quite a few emails saying, oh, we haven't received any form submissions from the past X weeks or X months. And either Jenna or myself would go in and take a look at it, and it would always be that this didn't get updated for you. So,
Build it automatically, or do we always
so that's, Jenna, can you correct, is it filling in automatically yet?
So behind the scenes, it is adding it, but we want people to get into the habit of actually placing it in there just in case something with that ever breaks. So the actual no reply email address is located in our KB in our Gravity Forms documentation and on our website in the Gravity Forms documentation. And you can kind of navigate to both of those, Matt, if you want to show those.
With that, and the reason why I wanted to ask Jenna is because one of our developers has built some plugin functionality or some internal functionality that automatically does that process, except sometimes things break with said plugin and we have to turn that plugin off. And so that's why Jenna was saying we want to make sure that people get into the habit of doing that anyway. So it's like the first thing up here at the top is to say, make sure you put that into there. But that just, I wanted to say that last month because, you know, February and March, we just started seeing a bunch of emails coming in about the fact that forms weren't coming. And I know that like scholarship, people use these forms for like scholarship information, for application information. And I feel awful because after the fact, there's no way to capture the fact that whatever people have entered, they get that error message. There's no way to know what they did enter. So you just have to make sure that you're aware of this thing here. Okay. Okay. Last thing that I want to touch on, and then I'll let see if anybody else has any updates that they want to add in. One of the things that did happen early on in this spring, it might have been a month ago now, it might have been a little over that. We picked up a plugin from our end of things that allows me to export users to a CSV file. What I did was I exported every editor and administrator that has a WiscWeb site, and I put it into a CSV file, and then I uploaded that CSV file to our Whisk list, our email list that I use to send out all this various information. So as of a month ago, 2 months ago, whenever it was that I actually did that poll, that is the most up-to-date list of users that we have in our service. But one of the things that I get every time I send out an email to the list is, I'm no longer an editor, please remove me. I no longer work with WiscWeb, please remove me. Or people don't want to get the emails from us. So I just kind of wanted to put out there an expectation and then also a plea/ask of all of you. So the expectation is if you're an editor or an administrator within the WiscWeb service, you're going to be on that list because we need a way to communicate. Now, for the most part, the people who attend our brown bags, you all are mostly involved in this process from the administrative side of things. So for the most part, you guys tend not to care that you get the emails from me because you all know who I am and you get this information from me anyway. But there's a lot of times when people will send back and they'll say, I don't want to get these. I send 2 emails a month sometimes. I don't want to get these emails. And I always respond back, well, if you're a part of our service, we want to make sure that we're communicating with you because your administrators might not be there. The regular editors might not be there. We need to make sure that this information gets out there. So that being said, what I am imploring all of you to do, and I'm actually going to send out an email to the site owners. I have a list of site owners. But what I really implore all of you to do is take a look at your user lists, see who are editors and administrators within your sites, and cull that list. Because there are a lot of people who have graduated. There are a lot of people who have moved on to other positions here on campus. There are a lot of people who have moved on from this campus. And I get all those emails back to me when I send out my my updates. So I want all of you to sort of be aware of the fact that we don't remove people from your sites unless specifically requested. So if people leave, if people graduate, or if people are no longer responsible for website editing, they might still get on my email list because I'm going to do that poll probably once a year, maybe twice a year, to get an up-to-date list of users within our service. And it will add people in who are there. So I guess just to kind of show you where you can see that list, it's underneath your users list. It'll look a little bit different because of me being sysadmin, but well, this isn't the one you guys want to see. Well, anyways, here they all are. And you can go through here, and if you need to remove people, you can just click on the remove right there to remove them. So, all right, that's it for my spiel. Jenna, is there anything that you want to add in while you're on the line?
The only thing I can think of is maybe just pointing out the link to the article on the website with more info on some specific UW theme stuff.
She told me that, and I forgot to mention that.
No, it's cool.
I know. All right. So whenever we make updates to anything, we will put articles out here under our news list with essentially a lot of stuff that we will talk about in the emails and in the brown bags themselves. Specifically to the theme update and the 5.1.1 update, we did have a customer list of issues that came in. Honestly, as we started to look through these, a lot of the things that started to come in weren't really they weren't really 5.1.1 related things. There were more issues with either the theme or the site itself. So that was nice to see, was that it wasn't an issue with WordPress. It was something on our end that we just had to fix from there. So. All right, I will yield the floor to, let's see, hang on. Has there been any discussion about managing site users with Manifest? I don't know, Jenna, do you know, has there been any way to do, I mean, because you can manage access, but I don't know about user lists via Manifest. That's a good question.
So I guess I would need some more information on, you want the list of users in your WiscWeb site to be managed by the same group that you have for your Manifest group? Is that what is?
Or potentially creating another Manifest group to be a user list Manifest group.
So I'll just kind of give an overview of how Manifest works, and hopefully that will help provide some clarity. So Manifest is a tool that allows you to maintain a list of net IDs. And in the WiscWeb realm, we use that to provide protections to the site. So you would create a Manifest group, add the net IDs that you want to have access, and then we can take the Manifest group and apply it to your site so that anyone on that list, when they log in, can see your can see your site contents. If you are not on that Manifest group, you would not be able to get to the site. So it's just a way of like locking down your site. There's two different ways that you can populate that list. The first is pretty manual, so you just search for a net ID and add it. And the second is via UDDS code. With the first, you're going to have to maintain it, just like we were talking about with your user list in WiscWeb, adding and removing folks as needed.
So I would say, specific to the question that you asked, Michael, I would say that at the moment, I don't believe there would be any way, because WordPress itself is the service, and somehow those IDs have to get into the database of the service for them to get access to the editing environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that that's a possibility, but I will take that back and we can kind of poke around at that thought and see if there is an option out there for that functionality to exist.
So you're looking for a way to populate the user list with the same set of net IDs that's located in a Manifest group? Is that what?
That's kind of what it is, yeah. Rather than having to have them go to WiscWeb to log in and create, instead it would just automatically populate via a Manifest group.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger question that I would have there is not so much getting them in, but rather how do you define roles through Manifest? I don't know. I don't know that there could be. I don't know that that step could exist via a Manifest group.
You are correct. That would be difficult. But it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it is, because we have it and we do use net IDs as our gateway. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting thought. All right. Any other questions? thoughts, comments, concerns?
I missed the first few minutes.
Okay.
What was that about the brown bags? Or the open lab?
So I'm on vacation starting
Oh.
the 23rd. We have no open labs the week of the 27th through the 31st. Well, Memorial Day, obviously,
Okay.
but then the rest of that week we won't have any open labs, and I
Okay.
don't have any trainings going on. And then I have updated the open lab and training schedule for June 3rd moving forward.
Okay, I was worried they were going away altogether. When I saw
The
that.
open labs?
Yeah.
No. How else would I interact with all of you fine people? I really do enjoy actually sitting down with all of you. So, Johnny.
I vaguely remember in the early days that I started to work with this system about font awesome, and I think I wrote a request form somewhere for for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any thought about having that into theme 2.0 that, or I don't know where it would have to be
I would
integrated?
say if you have requested it, it exists within our wish list of theme 2.0, or at least it exists within a user wish list. So we are keeping track of those things. Yeah. And actually one of the things that I have been doing recently, because the thought and the conversation of theme 2.0 has started to get a little more steam within our group, I have actually been encouraging people to just go to the feature requests form and fill it out and send in things that you would like to see the theme be able to do.
Right.
Because that's kind of one of the things that we're looking for is, to a certain extent, theme 1 was what we needed it to do, what we needed it to be to move the UW-Madison brand and look and feel into a more modern look and feel. Great, it did that, but to a certain extent at the cost of some of the user desires of what exists out there in all the very many WordPress sites that exist out there. So now that we're looking at 2.0, the developers have often said we want it to be a little more flexible, not only for them when it comes to actual development, but also to you when it comes to actually being able to be flexible in what you would like to apply to it. So this is one of the things that I am encouraging folks to start to do is fill out those requests and let us know.
Should it be one request per, like if I have multiple requests, should they be in the same email, or should it be, is it more efficient if I do?
I would say for you,
ones?
Johnny, it'd be more efficient for you to do one big
Okay.
email, yeah. Because I mean, I know you have a lot of thoughts on just web and web editing and websites in general. I would say for you, if you have one consistent thought, that would be easier for us to take that than request after request after request. I would say just send our support email list and just say, requests for theme 2.0 or thoughts on theme 2.0 and things like that. So, and again, we don't know what the process of building 2.0 is going to look like. When we started doing this 2 years ago, we did a couple of these like brown bag informational sessions where we talked about what the theme was going to do and stuff like that. Humorously enough, before I think any of the developers we have were here. So they are all new to what the process is going to be like for delivering it to campus anew. So, Libby and the marketing folks, they did a couple of those brown bag drop-in sessions. I know we did one over at the Marquee Theater here, where I presented some stuff. But I would say we're probably going to do something like that again, where we will do a few informational sessions where we will solicit feedback and solicit some, I guess, general response to what is versus what will be. So that is definitely a conversation.
So should we, like, if we think we've already submitted something?
Drop us a line and
Just
ask.
drop you a line?
Yeah, because
Okay.
we can take a peek at it.
All right.
We have I know we have one that is us related. We have a wish list doc that the team, have been keeping, and I know we have the entries for the feature request stuff. So it just drop us a line and say, I think I requested this. Can you take a look? Otherwise, honestly, I wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't bug me if you requested it again, because that just means you really want it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I would never do that, right? So on that line, I just want to, I don't know if you could hear me clapping this morning over at the Weisman Center, but
I'm not sure what about, because it's been a slow morning for me.
Well, I was able to, for all of our 9 clinic pages, I was able to take the content or the maps, parking, and directions, and now I only have to update it once. So that repeating content was like fabulous. So thank you so much.
So
and I've got lots of plans for using it in other places.
Yeah, we have a plugin. It's called the Content Sharing plugin. It was built for Division of Student Life folks, and they have used it a little bit. But Linda Rowley from the Weisman Center has been someone who has, ever since we moved from OpenText, has been someone who has been eager for this option as well. We're not ready for, essentially Linda is our beta tester. She is the one who is actually testing it out on a site outside of the DSL sites. So once we know it's playing nice and it works as intended, which is, it's great to hear, it's something that we will communicate out, and I will actually provide a little bit of training overview at one of our brown bags, or just like maybe a few drop-in sessions to show you how it can be used. But essentially the idea is, you build something once, you build a post once, you can either share that amongst multiple pages within your site, or if you decide to, you can share it with multiple sites within your sphere. So Weisman was a good example of this, because while Linda maintains the main Weisman site, there are a number of other sites that exist within the Weisman sphere that potentially could use the same content that she posts, and vice versa. They might post some clinic information, news, posts, things of that nature that she might want to also be able to access and pull into her own feed there. So it is useful if you have the use for it. Again, Linda was someone who has been looking for this this functionality for a while now, so it was ideal for her to be able to test it out. All right, other questions from my folks? Any thoughts, Paulina?
I'm good.
How you doing?
Good.
How many states are you up to?
38.
38 states that Paulina has visited.
Just get back from vacation.
Yes.
Yes. she went. What's it?
I just have a plan to see a lot of the states around. States, so.
51.
What is it?
Did you say 51?
No, all of the 51s, I think. That's what I said.
Yeah.
50.
All of the 51.
Yes.
One time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can still go to Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You could, yeah. Anything from our web folks? You guys have any questions out there? It's still showing me a 0, so it's quite a depressing thing for me to look at, but I know you're there. Otherwise, I guess just things that are upcoming for us over the summer. It's the summer, so it's going to be a heavy work time for us in regards to planning, plotting, scheming, and delivering. The developers are going to be busy with Theme 2.0. We're going to be busy trying to get a few of the plugins that have come through our request list actually tested and into the service. From a training standpoint, I want to keep doing all the various trainings that I've been doing with the center, the CDocs folks. I call them the CDocs folks. So, you know, Adam Hillsmeyer and Sandy. And actually, for those of you who didn't do the or didn't see the user testing and the user research one, I really think that I was not anticipating it to be as interesting as it ended up being to me, because I had never thought of the process that Maria had introduced. So I think it was a very beneficial one to have, even though it wasn't as attended as our other ones. It's kind of funny that I think it's probably one of the more useful ones, is figuring out who is actually your audience and what do they need. So I would highly recommend taking a look at that video on the training resources page, to just introduce yourself to that stuff.
Can I bring one thing up?
Go ahead.
I worked with Jonathan on the Google Tag Manager.
Yes.
And he ended up writing this really comprehensive thing that covers like regular. Yeah.
That's an expression.
And I don't know if that's something that we can just make available to.
Yeah, actually,
everyone.
he and I have actually been chatting about that because of the fact that he did because he was working with Sherry at that time as well.
Okay.
And he had and one of the things that he and I have talked about doing, and we wanted to do this in relation to some of the training that we were going to do for Tag Manager as well, or maybe not so much training, but just similar to what we did for analytics, which basically like, here it is, here's what it can do, here's what you should think about, here are more resources kind of thing, was we can actually create these canned variables and these canned functions and deliver them for you to download and import for things like, I really want to track how many PDFs are downloaded on my site. Here's the tag that you would grab to
do that.
actually do that. So he and I have chatted about doing that, but it's Jonathan, so we chat and then I don't see him for days on end, and he's busy doing other things, and it gets put by the wayside because he's exceptionally busy.
Well, that's why, because I probably have like 10 more sites that I can do, and it's really time consuming for both of us to do that. So I didn't know if there was.
I know there are export options, and maybe you should chat with him about what your options would be, so that you don't have to rely on him to basically be there to because he does that for me a lot, is hold my hand to make sure that I'm not breaking anything. But you might want to talk to him about those export import functionalities.
Okay, I'll do that.
Because you would have the same setups.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be perfect.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and he does create some very elaborate variables for it. Because like for me, I want to track PDFs. Okay, well, star.pdf. But with Jonathan, he creates something that's like regex, parentheses,
It was like
XYZ star period, PDF, docx, XLS, XL. Yeah, he has one that I know he's created and tried to deliver to me, and I just don't understand it enough to be able to talk through it. It's so.
Well, it didn't seem like there was any downside to just doing all of them like he did for me. So.
Yeah, because like the one that he did was he wanted to be able to basically track everything. He wanted one that basically click something and deliver me a hit at analytics that says it was this thing.
Yeah, that they clicked on.
So so it's a bit more universal in what he has created. All right, so we will call it there. Folks that tuned in at a distance, thank you all for being a part of it. Jenna, thank you for calling in from the beautiful woods of Medford. And then I guess thank you guys in here for popping in. So
thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Jenna. Have a tune.
Yes, have a tune.
It's not raining here, so we're really lucky.
It's not snowing yet.
Right.
Yeah, you could always have.
Yeah. Take care.